bad boys. She's dirty, but here she is. I don't have a full mod list in front of me, but I do know all the good stuff, so let's go take a look. If you guys are new to the channel, let me just describe real quick how perfectly this worked out. I have a big turbo MK6 Golf R that's gray. I just stepped into this big this big hole from the dogs. So I have a MK6 Golf R that's gray, big turbo, and has had a ton of problems happen to it in the last year. I just had the engine rebuilt again, and not even a week later I had a ton of issues. It ended up being that the thrust bearings just fell out. They just flat out fell out. So that engine needs another rebuild. So I was then talking to my friends about how I wanted to 2.5 swap the gray car, since it needed a rebuild anyway, and that's something I always wanted to do. But that's a really, really expensive thing to do, and to be honest, I don't really have the money to be doing that right now. So then my buddy Jordan texted me that he knows of someone selling a 2.5 swapped car that needs a rebuild. So I figure this car is probably not even anywhere close to where I live, but he sends me his phone number and he lives an hour and a half away from me, which is crazy. Then I'm looking at pictures of it and I see that it's my favorite color. It's a two-door because I'm only interested in two doors, and it has the keyless entry, upgraded audio, and push to start, sunroof, all that stuff that the higher trim packages come with on the US spec models. Because on the US spec models we only have the base trim, like my gray Golf R, which is no sunroof, regular key for the ignition, a more basic audio, no navigation, all that stuff. This is literally the perfect spec that I wanted. The right color, the right amount of doors, and the higher trim. Then it just gets better and better from there because it has the engine swap I already wanted to do. It's already fully forged inside, although it does need a rebuild. It's already got the exact turbo that I was going to buy. The exact turbo. I wanted to get the Zona 8267 that this car already has. Then I find out that it has the Euro wingbacks, which we didn't even have available here. These are dream seats. Like, you can't even find these seats, and when you do find them, they're about $5,000 or $6,000 on the used market. I don't think things really could have worked out any better. I truly feel like this was meant to be. I feel like it was meant to be for me to get this car. Like I said, I did have a lot of issues with my gray Golf R, and it's extremely frustrating to not have a driving car after spending all the money that I have. Spending a year of all my free time working on it, taking the engine out myself. I wouldn't say it was a complete waste of time and money for me because I did learn everything I know from that car. It was my first car. I bought it right after graduating from college because I never had money for a car before that. So let's start walking through everything that's done to the car. Oh, and before I actually dig further, I just want to say, also along the lines of having everything I wanted, this car already has a few aesthetic things that I either would have done or already bought, because I already bought some aesthetic stuff for the gray car. I just haven't been able to put them on because I haven't been able to focus on exterior stuff because, well, the engine's had so many like catastrophic problems. So one of them is this appears to be the Dutch Parts Company splitter. I have one of these sitting in my bedroom. I will show it to you guys. So that's pretty crazy that he already had that. I wasn't gonna put this guy on here, but it looks really good like this. I think this is the Ghost Knit splitter. That looks really good. It's a cool combo. I've seen that splitter used with the Flow Designs splitter. And I know those two work really well together. This is a really good combo as well. He already has side skirt extensions. Or side skirt splitters. I already have some at my house. These are the Maxton ones. I have the Dutch Part ones. I'll stick my Dutch Part ones up next to that to see which ones I like better. The Dutch Parts splitters will match nicely with the front splitters, but that one still looks pretty nice. And then in the back, we have the rear diffuser that I have sitting in my bedroom, which is the Maxton rear diffuser. A lot of people have this one, but it looks really good. I may switch that up. Oh, and the black emblems, I was gonna do that anyway. The RS badge, I was probably gonna do too, which is actually it's just insane. Like, it's almost exactly the way I was gonna build mine. It's even got OEM dark cherry tails. I have some of those on my gray R. I could have swapped over if it didn't have them. In fact, I may swap this one over because it has a big bug in it. And yeah, it's huge. So I may swap one of the other ones that I have because I do have a couple inner OEM dark cherries that I could swap over. There are still a few exterior things I'm gonna do, but I would say 50% of them were already done. Oh, the one other thing that I was gonna do on the exterior that he already did is the color match side markers, and it looks like they were really well done. He bought them like that actually, so he didn't have to go through the effort of doing that himself. On my gray R, I did them myself, and it didn't come out perfectly because the paint that I bought just wasn't great. It's pretty crazy that all this stuff was done almost exactly to how I was gonna do it anyway. It's just weird how well this worked out, and it just makes all my bad luck feel like it was all worth it now in a way. So let's take a look at the engine real quick. So this is a Mark V Jetta engine. It has a forged crank, so it's one of those early engines that have the forged cranks. Those forged cranks have a 6-bolt flywheel. Isn't great for high horsepower, so he had 5 extra holes drilled out and tapped, so it's now an 11-bolt flywheel and crank, which is obviously a lot stronger, so it should hold up fine for really high horsepower. He has a Zona 8267, like I said. That is the same turbo that IROS uses on their IMS 850 kits. So it should be like maxed out on race gas or water meth. Should be about, I've seen 740 wheel horsepower from IROS, but I would probably expect something closer to about 700 even. And you know, that was what my goal was gonna be for this car. So it's gonna need a new block, and the block will have to be bored out because these are larger pistons than the stock bore. We've got a bunch of heat shielding here. This is a custom heat shield right here, and then yeah, you can't really see the turbo or anything, but like I said, this engine needs to be stripped down. So continue watching the channel and you guys will see me strip this thing down, and you guys will get to have some bonding time with this car just like I will. This is the IROS billet intake manifold. The previous owner made this short runner intake. The piping is plumbed really nice and short actually, so that intake is pretty nice and direct. The only thing is there's no like air ram or anything to really feed that super well. So the intake is probably something that I'm going to redesign eventually. I won't spoil what I'm gonna do with that, but I have plans of an intake that's insane. It'll be really, really cool. So this is the intercooler. This is the turbo outlet, the compressor outlet. Comes right here. This is a air to water intercooler, and it goes directly to the throttle body right here. So this greatly reduces the amount of plumbing coming out of the turbo, because generally on FSIs and on turbo 2.5s, you'll have the plumbing come all the way down and around the engine, and then into a front mount intercooler to come back up. So this is very shortly run. So this is nice. That's nice and efficient. It'll make the turbo run more efficiently. The short intake will make the turbo run more efficiently, and the air to water intercooler setup will greatly reduce the amount of turbo lag. If you guys are new to air to water intercoolers, because I know I am, they run off their own separate coolant system. So this has its own little coolant reservoir right here. Then this is the overflow for the engine, because, well, typically it's over here, but he had to reroute it because of the intake. So areas for improvement on the engine are definitely the intake and the exhaust manifold, because the exhaust manifold's kind of like, I'll show you guys when I take it off, but there's definitely room for improvement with the exhaust manifold as well. And then over here we have a fuel pressure gauge, and we got the integrated engineering fuel rail, but there's not really much else to see unless I take off all this heat shielding and show you guys the turbo. But like I said, we're gonna be taking this whole thing apart over the next month or so. Hopefully it doesn't take that long, but we'll see. So before we go inside, let's look at the suspension and the wheels and brakes. So the brakes are a bit rusty because the car hasn't been driven much. The car actually does run and drive, so I'm gonna drive it home tomorrow, so I'll get some driving clips of that, show you guys what's going on there. While I'm down here, I forgot to tell you that there are tire stickers on here, and I love the look of tire stickers, but these are all dirty and it just kind of looks bad. Plus they're peeling on some tires. This spot right here is peeling off on some of the tires, so I think I'm just gonna remove all of them. I don't think it's really worth the effort of like trying to clean them. I don't even know if you can really clean them. So we got this stud conversion kit, which is really nice. We have RSC 10s, they're 18 by 8.5. These are actually really nice wheels. they fit this car really well actually. They're lightweight wheels, they weigh about 19 pounds. I think 19.25 to be exact in this 18 by 8.5 spec. And they're 45 offset, which is the stock offset, so that's nice. We got Forge big brake kit, and I don't know what size rotors these are or which rotors they are. And we have the biggest tire size you can stick on an 8.5 width, which is, well, the biggest that's recommended. They're Pilot Super Sports, 255, 35, 18. So they are nice and wide. Also for suspension, KW Club Sports on here. That was from the original build. Oh, I didn't even tell you guys. So this car was originally built by Tom at Innovative Motorsports. The original build was done very, very early. So this car only has 19,000 miles on it. The original build was done at probably like 1,000 miles. So the car was brand new when they did the original swap, but it had a different turbo and turbo kit, different internals in the engine. The cage wasn't here, the previous owner did that, and the seats were in here. And I'll show you guys some clips. I found forum posts about it. I found the forum post from when they were selling it. So yeah, the cage wasn't here, but it did have a Unibrace XB, which I have in my Gray R. We'll have to see if I keep this roll cage because I'm really tall. I'm 6'5", and getting in here can be a little bit tough. Basically, I'm limited. I can't fully put the seat back really far because the seat will hit this roll cage. I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna keep the roll cage. I do really like it and I wanna keep it, but at the same time, if it's gonna get in the way of my comfort, then it's gonna have to go, unfortunately. We'll see. I'll give it a real honest shot. We'll see. I'll drive the car for a few weeks or, you know, a few months. I really like the cage, but depending on what I really use this car for, we'll see if I keep it or get rid of it. Because it does completely like kill the whole daily driven car idea and just makes it like strictly a toy car or like a track car. But yeah, the car only had like 17,000 miles on it when the previous owner bought it, and the car only has 19,000 on it now. So again, 2013, 19,000 miles, pretty crazy. All right, so on the interior, we got P3 digital gauge. I have that in my Gray R as well. We have this steering wheel cover, which is actually pretty nice, but I have different plans for the steering wheel. The radio is a RCD 330, which I have in my Gray R. Stock HVAC, so I'm gonna swap over my digital one, the Mark 7 style one. We got some gauges down here. This is for the air to water intercooler. So we have the water temperature, the coolant temperature, and then we have the air temperature for the air coming out of the turbo and then the air going into the throttle body. This is a little garage button, and then the rocket, I don't know what that does. I can't remember. It might be something for, it might not even be set up, or it's for the water methanol. I'm not sure. There's a water meth, there's a water meth kit in the car, in the engine. It's not spraying right now because there's no controller spraying it, but everything is set up as far as the nozzles and the pump. Then up here we have this little Banks gauge, I- super gauge. So it's got AFR, ignition timing, and some other stuff. Stock LEDs, that's a room for improvement. I'll probably just swap mine from the other car. I'm not sure which shift knob this is, but I actually kind of like it. I didn't even touch the other shift knob from the other car. The previous owner of my Gray car had just like an OEM Audi shift knob, and I didn't even mess with it. I like this one too. I might switch it out. It feels like we got the stock shifter in here because there's a pretty long throw, feels like. So I'll probably swap the short shifter from my Gray car over into this one. So I had never sat in these Euro wingbacks before, so I didn't really know what I was missing. These seats are insanely nice. They hug you really tight, but they're still extremely comfortable. They look amazing. They're leather and Alcantara. I didn't even know they had Alcantara. The stitching is just beautiful. Everything is just really, really nice on these seats. The backs are gorgeous. And it looks like, I just noticed this, there's actually a little handle built in right here so that you can easily slide it up, just like the OEM one. Actually, it doesn't look like it slides up when you do that. Never mind. But it does let you fold them inward, which is nice. This seat, I couldn't find a single imperfection, but like I was saying about being tall and this seat hitting the bar, we'll go take a look at the other seat to show you that the passenger did that exact thing, and it made a little mark on the back of the seat and on the roll bar, unfortunately. So there you can see there's a little mark on the roll bar camera's not focusing, but you can see it. And right here, we got a little mark on the seat. So that's kind of unfortunate. The seats aren't perfect, but it could be far worse. I'm sure there's a way you can fix this. I'm not gonna fix it with a black Sharpie, but honestly, if you did, I'm sure no one would notice. Again, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just trying to say it's a very small amount of damage, and there is a shiny black finish on here, so there should be an easy way to fix that. So I'll have someone professionally fix that if it's possible. But yeah, I don't want that to happen on the other seat. This car is kind of dirty, like the exterior is a little bit dirty and down here is dirty, but I wanted to show you guys the car anyway because I'm not gonna be able to clean it for a couple days, and I'm just too excited to show you guys this car. So we got the battery relocation kit. We have the stock stuff up here. We still got this guy, and I've never seen one of these before, but this is pretty nice. This is the belly cover for underneath the car. Yeah, so we just got the cage and we got a spare tire back here. I'm probably gonna take the spare tire out. The battery relocation kit is cool because I was gonna do that anyway. So that's one less thing I'll have to do to the car. And it's pretty much all there is to see back here. Sorry guys, so like I said, I don't have a mod list in front of me, so I'm forgetting things and then remembering things. So also in the suspension, besides the KW Club Sports, we have Super Pro control arms and bushings. So those bushings are extra stiff, the control arms are extra light. The stiff bushings help especially for a sharper turn-in. I've never felt one of these cars with those bushings, but I've heard they make a really, really big difference. So it'll be nice driving the gray R and then this car back to back, so I can feel what kind of difference it is, especially with the coilovers and everything else that's on this car. One of the biggest things for the suspension is the aluminum tubular subframes. This car has I think it's called the Verkline is the brand, tubular subframe, so that sheds 10 pounds down there. And I'm never gonna drop another bolt or nut into the subframe. So that's a good thing, because if you've worked on one of these cars, you know that when you drop things towards the back of the engine, that subframe just catches everything. And then sometimes it's actually really tough to like retrieve what you dropped because it gets like lost underneath the sway bar and underneath that heat shield on the subframe. So that's a big plus. And it eliminates the need for the dead set kit, which I did need for my gray R because the subframe did shift on that car after I had the subframe taken out the subframe dropped for a clutch job. So that's a good thing as well. So I have to run off to actually give the seller the check for this car because I was waiting for the credit union to actually send that check. They actually sent out a check for the wrong car. Like, they thought I was buying a completely different car. Not sure how they messed that up, but that held up this whole process by a couple days. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to the engine. After that, it's gonna be about making it my own car, changing everything that I wanna change. There are still a bunch of exterior things that I wanna do, a lot of lighting things I wanna do because I'm really into lighting. It's gonna be a fun one, guys, so I hope you guys are as excited as I am about this. Oh, and I completely forgot. Sorry, there's so many things to go over with this car. The transmission, this is another area that's gonna save me a lot of money. The transmission is an O2M from a Mark 1 Quattro TT, and it has the longer gear set offered by HPA, so it's a lengthened, hardened gear set. I've seen some information that says supposedly that set is just an OEM gear set from a Euro diesel model, but I haven't gotten confirmation of that, so I'm not sure what the deal is with that. But this transmission also has a billet input shaft and a reinforcement to keep fourth gear in place because that is a big failure point. So the transmission should hold up fine. If not, I do know of a transmission that someone's selling. Oh, and the transmission also has a front LSD. The prop shaft is stock and the car has Raxels. DKM twin disc clutch. I have another twin disc in my Golf R that I do like a lot, so I'm not sure which one. I'm gonna run, but one advantage of this clutch is that the flywheels are already drilled out for the extra bolts that go into the crank to hold it onto the crank. I hope you guys are excited as I am and tag along for the ride. See you guys in the next video.